Hi, my name's Fliss and I suffer with anxiety. I've been meaning to make this video for a really long time and the sun's just come out. Oh, how lovely. Please excuse the lighting because I am using natural lighting and the sun keeps going in and out because we're in the UK and the weather can't make its mind up ever. So yeah, so I've been meaning to make this video for a really long time and my basis is as long as this video helps even just one person, then it's done what I wanted it to do. So what I want to do is talk about my anxiety and talk about the things that I do personally that help me, and hopefully you guys can try these out and maybe they'll help you as well. I'll start from the beginning. Like I say, my name's Fliss. I'm 24. I've suffered from anxiety very badly. I have generalized anxiety disorder, so that in a nutshell means that I worry about absolutely everything. Anything you can think of, I worry about it. I get anxious before car trips anywhere. I get anxious before leaving the house, even going to see friends. I'll get anxious if I have to stay out to see friends. Some of my friends live quite far away, so sometimes I have to stay over, and that makes me a little bit anxious sometimes. Yeah, everything. I've been like this since I was about 14. Before that, I was always a little bit of an anxious child, but I was quite clingy to my mum. I generally didn't really go anywhere without her. I didn't like being left unless it was like with family or with my grandparents. I never really spoke to anybody about it because when I was 14, I'd never even heard of anyone having anxiety. Like the internet wasn't really around. It was quite new when I was that age. The lighting's changed again. So it wasn't something you could Google, like I've got these symptoms, what do I do? Does anybody else have this? So I always felt like I was a little bit of a weirdo being like this. So I sort of just got on with it, and I went to university, and I went through quite a tough time in a relationship while I was there. So that obviously affected me quite a lot. And when I was 21, I got to a point where I was on the verge of losing my job because I was having so much time off because of my anxiety, and actually decided to leave that job in the end because of how they treated me when they found out what was actually wrong. And at that point, I knew that something had to change because it just wasn't working how it always had done anymore. I got to a certain age where it just wasn't viable anymore. So my anxiety stems from a lot of childhood trauma. I went through quite a lot when I was younger. My parents split up when I was 5, and I used to live in Jersey, the Channel Island, not in America. And they split up when I was 5, and my mum brought myself and my older brother back here. And then a couple of years later, my stepdad took his own life. So obviously that's quite a lot of trauma for a 5-year-old to go through between the ages of sort of 5 and 10. So that's always been something that I've carried through life. Lighting's changed. Carried through life with me, and it affects my relationships. Like I said, it's affected my jobs. I've left jobs because I haven't been able to deal with the job role, or because I feel like I've had a lot of time off and they might get rid of me, and I would like to make the decision myself rather than be pushed into losing my job. I've lost friends over it. I've cut friends out who make me feel anxious. I have had panic attacks at work, which are really embarrassing for me. I've had panic attacks before I'm due to start jobs in car parks. It's endless, really. So yeah, so this has brought me here because I'm very aware that I'm not the only person who suffers from this, and I just want to get the message out there that you're really not alone. There's so many people who suffer from it, and hopefully this video can give you a few tips, and you never know, you might find something that's really useful. So yeah, so let's get started, shall we? So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the main things that I do. I do this every night before I go to bed. It's very easy, it's not time consuming at all. You literally just put it on before you go to bed, and that's hypnosis. Now don't get scared. A lot of people get scared by the word hypnosis because when you think hypnosis, you think that you're lying on a bed and someone's waving, watching in front of you, and look into my eyes, and it's all a bit weird, and there's like a weird guy making you do stuff that you don't want to do, like be a chicken or whatever. But it's not like that at all. It's basically this app, which is by Glenn Harrold, and it's basically self-hypnosis. So there's quite a lot of different things that you can download, as you can see, quite a lot. The actual app itself is free, and it does come with an overcome anxiety, which is like a light version, so it's a bit shorter. It's about 15 minutes long, but I do sometimes go back to that if I'm quite tired and I feel like I'm not going to fully benefit from a really long one. Most of them are sort of 45 minutes, so if I feel like I'm not going to benefit, then I will just use the light one. And you literally plug your headphones in, put your earphones in, put it on before you go to bed, and you just relax. You follow the instructions that are on there. It's a lot of deep breathing, a lot of visualization, like you're in a woods, or I don't know, you're on a staircase, you're on a balcony. There's a lot of things like that. It's very interesting to listen to. Basically, like how I would describe being in between the stage when just before you fall asleep, while you're awake and you're quite aware of what's going on around you. You can hear things, you can feel things, you know that you're about to fall asleep, but you're in that state for obviously a much longer period of time. The one that I use the most, I have quite a few. Like I say, the app is free, but you do have to pay for the longer ones. I think they're about £2 each. You can use them forever. So, or if you have Spotify, he is on Spotify and his name's Glenn Harrold. I'll put a link in the description box below so that you can find him. Like I say, the ones I use the most would probably be, there's one called Solfeggio, don't know if I'm saying that right, Creating Miracles, and it's basically an Asian, I don't know what, I don't really know that much about it, but it's an Asian music scale, and this apparently helps to heal your chakras, and it helps to heal yourself, and so yeah, that's the one I probably use the most. And like I said, I listen to it every night. Or there's ones for spiritual healing, there's build your self-esteem, overcome anxiety, heal your inner child, which obviously is good for me, childhood trauma. But there's so many. There's ones with weight loss, deep sleep, helping people sleep, developing your confidence, lose weight, stopping smoking, overcoming stress. But yeah, especially if I know that a lot of people with anxiety do struggle with sleep because their mind just doesn't shut off, and I have had that before, but I do generally sleep quite well, thank the Lord, because that is so important. But I feel like if you do have trouble sleeping, it's definitely worth a go, and like I say, it is free, so even if you don't get on with it, you can always just delete the app and try something else, so why not? So next, I want to talk about something that maybe not a lot of people have heard of. I've only just heard about it, to be honest. It's quite new to me as well, but I feel like it does really help. My mum's a counsellor, so this is something that was introduced to me by her. It's called EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's basically like emotional acupuncture. So it focuses on removing blockages in your body where maybe your anxiety may sort of cluster, or if you get it sort of in your heart, or if you get it in your stomach. It's about releasing those blockages and dispersing the energy around your body so that it's being more productive, basically. So the general technique is to get these two fingers and to just tap. So for anxiety, they tell you to tap under your collarbones, or just sort of around there, and just tap and give yourself affirmations to say while you're tapping, taking deep breaths, so in through the nose, out through the mouth, and while saying to yourself sort of, I'm safe, I'm okay, this will pass, I'm safe, I'm okay, obviously going through, or whatever affirmation works for you. And this, like I say, helps to remove emotional blockages that you might be feeling. Obviously, if you're in your office or if you're in public and you don't want to do that, the deep breathing and the affirmations, just saying that to yourself, I feel does help as well. Maybe even if you don't bother with tapping, but it's definitely something worth trying, maybe before you go to bed or before you sort of relaxing. You can do sort of different areas in your body. You can do it on your head, you can do it on your temples, on your face, your cheeks, shoulders, wherever you feel like your anxiety sort of clusters, like I said before. This, like I say, is something that's quite new. It's something that counsellors are looking at exploring, especially my mum is exploring at the minute. She's going to do her training in it, so it's something that people turn to when they feel like nothing else has helped, and there is a lot of positive feedback about it, so it's definitely worth reading about. I will leave a link below to an organisation who sort of specialise in it. It's definitely worth looking at, even if you try it for a month and you don't like it, it's worth a try. Another thing I want to talk about is a thing I called the 5 senses technique. So I did this a lot when I used to work in an office in my previous job, because it's something that you can do without drawing a lot of attention to yourself. So you do 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 thing that you can taste. And this helps you to ground yourself. So instead of if you're like me, when your anxiety sort of really kicks in before maybe you might be sort of building up to have a panic attack or something, when your anxiety kicks in, your head is like a whirlwind and you can't focus on anything. Like if someone's talking at you, like their words will just go straight over your head and you're not really listening, and you feel like you're standing in the middle of a tornado and you just don't know what's going on. So that's how it feels when I get to that stage. So to sort of ground yourself and pull your, like how some people say, pull your anchors in, use your anchors, you can focus on, be mindful of what is around you. So 5 things you can see, so point out 5 things in your mind that are sort of catching your eye or that are quite distinguishable to you. 4 things that you can hear. Usually if you're in a busy place, you're going to find more than 4 things you can hear, and it just helps you, especially as you get to things like taste and touch. It brings it inside you. The 3 things you can smell is usually the one that I find the most difficult. So, and I think that's the point where you bring it in the most, because sometimes you have to really concentrate. If you're in an environment that isn't very stimulating, shall we say, maybe you're in, like I say, your office, and you're going to struggle to find 3 different smells. So just thinking about it and thinking, can I pinpoint that 3rd smell? It just helps you, even if you can't, it doesn't matter, as long as you're trying to do it, then it's fine. So like I say, that's something that I found really, really helps. And I saw it just on Instagram. I think it was just a picture on Instagram somewhere that I saw, or Tumblr, and it's always stayed with me, and it helps. If you feel like you're too far to go for the 5, you can always do 3, sort of 3 things you can hear, 3 things you can taste, 3 things you can see, whatever you want to do. Completely up to you, but as long as you're really concentrating on it and being mindful of your surroundings, you're practicing mindfulness. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's what it is. So speaking of mindfulness, I'm sure you've all heard of these, which are mindfulness colouring books. I have quite a few. I got some for Christmas, and they're basically self-explanatory. They are just colouring books, usually quite intricate detail. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, quite intricate detail. I have a cat. I have one that's Animal Kingdom, which is great. And I have a Game of Thrones one, which I got for Christmas from my boyfriend. Like I say, these are great. They're quite cheap. They're about £3 each if you get them from Amazon. And obviously you can just get a cheap pack of colouring pencils. And it helps you to bring it in. It's maybe something that you can do at home, maybe if you're feeling anxious about something that's coming up, or like for me, I get really anxious about going to the dentist or going to the doctors. So that's something that I tend to do before, to just sort of ground myself and remind myself that for this moment, for this next hour or so, the only thing that matters is this colouring, and everything else is fine, and I don't have to worry about anything because everything's fine because I'm colouring this cat in and it's fine. So that's something that definitely helps me. The next thing that I want to talk about is very obvious, which is breathing, and knowing how to breathe properly, and making sure when you're in that state of, maybe if you're in a panic attack, in the midst of a panic attack, knowing that you have to breathe, knowing the right way to breathe to calm yourself down, to slow your heart rate down. because if you're taking in too much oxygen, you're going to hyperventilate and it's going to make things worse. You're going to panic, you're going to think you're dying. So, which I've been there, trust me. So it's all about knowing you're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can try breathing in through your nose and holding your breath, and then breathing out. Sometimes that helps, especially if you can't get to sleep. I've heard that really, really helps. And that's something that I do when I'm in panic attacks. I will try, like I said before, I do the 5 senses, and I also do the breathing as well, and that sort of helps level out my heart rate and slows me down, and it calms my brain a little bit. So breathing, definitely important. Always breathe, because it's really good for you. Another thing along the sort of kind of the same lines as breathing is getting enough sleep, and just generally looking after yourself. Getting enough sleep is really important. People take the mick out of me for going to bed at 9, half 9, but if I wake up in the morning feeling fresh and then my co-workers are sat at their desk like zombies, then who's winning really? Me. I'm winning. Because maybe I didn't watch, I don't know, The Walking Dead last night, but I can watch it when I get home at work, so I'm not going to be tired, so I'm not going to need a nap. So, and I feel like if I don't get a lot of sleep, then my anxiety is, woo, like crazy worse. So make sure you get sleep and eat right, do a little bit of like exercise. I have a dog, so I can take my dog out before I go to bed, and that sort of helps clear my head a little bit. The last thing I wanted to talk about is something that people sort of tend not to go for, and I don't really know why. I've always said this ever since I started, that I would suggest that absolutely everybody has this, even if they don't have anxiety or depression or any kind of mental health illness, which is counselling. Now, counselling has helped me a lot, especially with the stuff that I went through when I was younger. Obviously, I've brought that through as an adult, and it comes out in different channels with my relationships and the way I react to different situations. So with counselling, when I first started it helped me make sense of everything that was going on in my head, and made me realise why I was doing the things that I was doing, and maybe reacting in an extreme way. And I always wondered, why am I reacting like this? Why am I so upset? Oh, it's because of this. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So it really helps you make sense of everything in your head, and I think that's really important with anxiety. I have it about once a month now. I love it. Like I say, I would recommend it to absolutely anybody. Anybody who feels like they have anything to talk about or rant about, go to counselling. Just see what it's like. My counsellor is lovely. I've been going to her for about 9 months. I started off going once a week, and it slowly got down to once a month. So I feel like I have talked about a lot of things, and now I feel like I still obviously like to see her, but just when I feel like things are going quite badly, or if my life goes a bit tits up sometimes, I like to go and see her, or just for a general chat, like a rant. Like I say, it just makes your head make sense, and it helps analyse your problems and understand yourself a lot better. So yeah, if you're going through this stuff, if you've got anxiety, if you've got depression, I would 100% recommend that you talk to someone, even if it's not a counsellor. Obviously, not everybody can afford to see a private counsellor. Go see your doctor and talk to them about it, or talk to your parents or a friend that you trust, because you're really not alone, and there's so many people who suffer. Even if you just Google it now, you will find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are going through the same thing that you are, and they understand how you're feeling and why you're feeling like that. So please just speak to someone, you'll be okay. And it does, I know that I've talked about my anxiety being really bad and everything, but it really does get better if you put the time in and work at yourself and know yourself. Then it does get better for you, and you won't be like this forever. And even when you're having a panic attack, just remember that the panic attack only lasts absolute maximum for 20 minutes, so you can get through it and you will be fine. And yeah, so I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this. I know it was pretty long, but I hope, like I said at the beginning, that as long as this helps, even if it just helps one person, then I'll be happy. And if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask in comments or give the video a thumbs up so that it can be shared and then other people can see it. And I'll leave all the links to the apps and the books in the description box below, and to EFT as well, because I know that is something that people might not have heard of. And like I say, yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope I've been a help, and keep your chin up. See ya, bye.